find our payroll partners. So those payroll companies that we partner with to provide payroll interfaces. This is where you can find that information. Scrolling down, we, excuse me, at LCPtracker have partnered with many payroll companies. I'm showing you the following companies below. We do have this information on our LCPtracker.net site, which is where you would be processing your payroll. However, it doesn't list all of them as it does here. So I just wanted to give you the option so you can see where you can find out what payroll interfaces we currently have today. We will be working today in our LCPtracker.net site. So that's www.lcptracker.net. Today, I will be putting in a username and password that has been made up. I am actually going to be working in the City of San Francisco's Sandbox database today. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started and put in my username. Now, if you at one point forget your password, we have a password, a forgot password link at the bottom that says forgot password. You can choose to click that forgot password link. It will give you a pop-up which will ask you for your username and have you redo your password. Therefore, you're not locked out. Now, I will explain that if you do get locked out, you're locked out for about 30 minutes, okay? You do have about 5 tries before you get locked out for 30 minutes. So my suggestion would be after the second try, go ahead and click on forgot password and your password will come back up. Okay, so we are looking at the City and County of San Francisco database. Again, this is the Sandbox database, which is not, this one has just information in it that are just sample documents and sample payroll records that we're putting in for the training use. So this, we're first going to talk about a few things at the top. As you can see, we have the City and County of San Francisco logo. You can also see that it says City and County of San Francisco Sandbox. Okay. Today you see notice, that there's a notice, June 2018, second release. When there is a notice or a message that LCPtracker will want to get out to their users, we will place a notice in this area, okay? This particular notice has to do with features that have been added. This also may pertain to new reports or functionality that is changed, okay? Once you have taken a look at what has changed, there is a release document that you can read in the training materials, okay? After you read this, you could just click OK, and that message will be removed. All right, so we're going to talk about the top buttons. The first one is the user portal. The user portal will go into an area where you have e-training, support, product store, etc. If I click on the e-training button, you will see that we have a plethora of support documents. These documents are self-help documents for all of you to utilize when you have challenges. We have contractor support documents available. These are all PDF documents, okay? There are also contractor training videos. We also have manuals as well as a quick start guide, okay? There's a contractor instruction manual as well as a contractor quick start guide. I show you this just to let you know that there are resources available that are directly at your fingertips that will help you along your day to get your payrolls in and get them in efficiently and quickly. Now, there is absolutely support that's available as well. Within our support tab, you can find that we have a dedicated support staff available for your needs, okay? So you can email our support, you can telephone our support. Our support staff are located in our Orange County office, okay? They're available Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. As stated here, if you're going to email our support staff, you will need to utilize your user ID or name, your callback number, your brief description of the challenge that you're having. So when our technician gets back to you, they know how to answer your questions pretty quickly. Going back to the LCPtracker page, I also just want to mention that the training materials in orange is essentially that resource page that I showed you, okay? The support tab, again, will give you the phone number and email address to our support staff. Next to log out in the green is live chat. The live chat is a newer feature which gives you the ability to instantaneously talk to or chat with one of our support staff members, okay? And our newest feature is the co-browse feature. Co-browse is utilized when you are speaking with one of our support technicians and possibly they are on the phone and don't understand possibly what it is that you are trying to get across to them as far as in what your challenge may be. They may ask you to push your co-browse button, which will allow them to join your session on your screen. Our support staff will be able to see your screen. However, if you are on a page that has any confidential or PII information about one of your employees, that data in the field is redacted for our technicians. Our technicians will not be able to see that information, okay? So alongside of our resources, our support, I also want to make mention in the middle of the page, it says sign up for no charge web-based training, book now. If you look at our book now button, we have contractor and subcontractor trainings. Okay, these training classes are available. If you click on the on demand, that simply is a pre-recorded training. These are generalized trainings, not specific to the City of San Francisco database, of course. If you want to go to or attend a live training, you can do so as well. You would just click sign up here, which will bring you to a new screen, and you can join a live contractor training class via webinar. The webinar is facilitated by one of our support staff technicians. They will go over all of the contractor side of LCPtracker, meaning all of the setup of employees, the employee profiles, certifying your payrolls, etc. The training class after will be a question and answer session. Those classes are available Tuesdays from 8 to 9 and Thursdays from 12 to 1. okay? All of those live training classes are available weekly. All right, now that I've discussed how to get resources, how you would retain support, and any training classes, I'm going to go ahead and get into our training session. So I just want to explain right now, currently we are in the Projects tab. Within the Projects tab, you will see Welcome, okay? And it will have your contractor's name here, okay? Below, there are two sub-tabs. Currently, I've clicked on Project underneath our Projects tab, and it'll bring up all of the projects that your firm has been assigned to. As you can see, there's project code, project name, who you're sub to, assignment start date, and bid add date. Next, in that last column, will be Show Info. This Show Info tab will simply give you the information as of who to speak with at the awarding body of the City of San Francisco for that particular project. It'll just give you their contact information, so their name, their phone number, and their email address. For those of you who possibly are assigned to multiple awarding bodies, therefore having multiple projects assigned, will have multiple show infos. Make sure that you are utilizing and looking at each one, because you may have multiple awarding body contacts for a project. The next button, which is the sub tab, is the certified payrolls. This is where you will find your certified payrolls, the payrolls that you've completed and certified already. So I have two projects here. One does not have any payrolls as of yet that have been certified. The second one does have payrolls, okay? We will get into this a little bit later as to what all of these accepted statuses mean and what the buttons to the right mean. Right now, I want to go ahead and get into our Setup tab. So I'm going to navigate to our Setup and talk about a few things here. Now, there are a multitude of buttons on this page, okay? We are only going to talk about 3 of those buttons today, just for time, okay? The first button that I want you to all look at and see is the Edit, Reset, e-signature, okay? The Edit, Reset, and e-signature. That is in the first column, last button. The next thing we're going to talk about is Add Edit Employee, and that is simply to add your employees. And then the last button we're going to discuss is the subcontractor setup. So I'm going to click on Edit, Reset, e-signature. That's the very first thing you should do once you log into LCPtracker for the first time. Your e-signature is a pretty simple certification of your signature, okay? You simply will have your user ID already populated, and you're just going to put in an e-signature password. Your e-signature password is how you will certify your payrolls when you're completed, okay? It is an electronic alphanumeric signature that is specific to you, okay? We ask and recommend that you do not share your passwords with your colleagues. Each person in your office who will be completing and certifying payroll should have their own e-signature. Again, your username or ID will pop up automatically. You will just need to add your e-signature password and click Save Password. Your password could be the same as your login. However, any IT person would tell you to make it a different password, okay, just for security purposes. That is a recommendation. However, you can do what you please when setting up your own passwords, okay? Next, Add Edit Employee. That is the first tab on the first column. This is where you would go to add your employees, okay? This is the employee profile page, which has the employee information, name, address, city, state, social security number, exemptions, ethnicity, date hired, okay? There's a multitude of red asterisks on most fields. Any field that has a red asterisk basically means that you will need to add something to that particular field, okay? Scrolling down, you will also see demographic classifications. Some awarding bodies may be utilizing this feature. If an awarding body asks you to use the demographic classifications to identify a demographic type for your employee, you will need to utilize this. Currently, we have the sample of veteran status. You will simply add whether or not your employee is a veteran, a service-disabled veteran, or not a veteran, okay? You would then click Done. And then that particular classification would populate. The next section is HUD Section 3 information. If you are on a HUD Section 3 project, you will need to identify whether or not your employee will be Section 3. There may be awarding bodies that utilize HUD Section 3 projects and have that as a requirement. There are some awarding bodies that may not have this as a function for you as a contractor to fill out. However, the awarding body may do that on their own. I just want to make mention that there are some awarding bodies that will give you the access to this and some that will not. Apprentice information. If you have an apprentice that is working out on the job site for one of these projects for the city of San Francisco, please make sure you are utilizing the apprentice ID. The apprentice ID and the apprentice registration date. Both are located on the apprentice certificate, whether that be the DIR, Department of Industrial Relations certificate, or Department of Labor. You are also going to be asked to add in the apprentice's percentage, as well as their period and level. I do want to make mention that when you are putting in their apprentice ID, if you happen to be on a dual funded project, dual funded meaning the project has California state prevailing wage requirements, as well as Department of Labor, Davis-Bacon. That means that you will need 2 apprentice certificates. You can add both certificate IDs to the one field, okay? Just following back up at the top under the Add Edit Employee information, I do want to make mention of the Validate Address. The City of San Francisco has local hire requirements. When you are adding your employee's address, that address will be verified against the United States Postal Service. If that address is a bad address, it will tell you, okay, that the database will give you a notice right here. Says results, the address you provided is not a valid address. Please make sure that you are getting a real address, that you are putting in an accurate address. If you're putting in an accurate address, the database will then give you a message that basically states, do you want to use this address? Yes or no? And it will validate it if it is a good address per the United States Postal Service. So if you do not validate the address for your employees, you will not be able to save the data. Okay, scrolling down to the last 3 sections. Default hourly paid fringes. This section is called, these sections are called time savers. Of course, this default hourly paid fringes is specifically for those fringes that are being paid to a third party, like a trust fund, a program, etc. Okay, training to the Department of Apprenticeship Standards, DAS. You can absolutely put in data into these fields, and that data will filter over automatically and pre-calculate automatically into the certified payroll report. Now, the recommendation is to use this time saver if your employee consistently has the same fringes. If you are on a shorter project, this would be a good way to utilize this. Maybe a project that's 6 months, maybe 4 months in length. Obviously, there are items that will need to be changed within an employee's data, whether it be their home address, whether it be their demographic classification, and apprentice information, and even their fringe benefits. You can always come back into this page and edit the data. Under pre-tax voluntary employee contribution, this is also a time saver. If your employees have a voluntary contribution to pension or medical, you can put that dollar amount in this area as well. If that contribution is included in their gross pay, you will need to check the box. And again, this information will pre-populate, and that will pre-populate over to the certified payroll. The last box is the deduction notes. If your employee takes a deduction, okay, if there's a garnishment of wage, or if there is a tax lien of sorts, or employee loan, something to that effect, this is where you will need to put that information. Again, it's a time saver. You do not have to add anything here at all, okay? But I'm just going to put this in just so you can see. In this note section, you can absolutely put that data in and it'll pre-populate, which saves you time, okay? When you're done with this page for the employee, you would just click Save, okay? It will save the data. When you come to this page and perhaps you need to make a change to your employee information, at the top you'll see Select Employee. There's a drop-down list, and here are the employees that have been added, okay? You have the ability to make changes to that data that's already listed in here. Okay, next we're going to go right back to that Setup tab, and we're going to show you how to add a subcontractor. okay? Adding a subcontractor is a two-step process, okay? I just want to stress that it is a two-step process, okay? If you have a contractor that you're using for the very first time, come to the Add Edit Subcontractor tab, which is the very first tab. You'll want to check the drop-down box where it says Select a Contractor to Edit, okay? Check first in this box to see if that contractor has already been listed, okay? When you get access to LCPtracker, there will be a multitude of contractors already listed in the drop-down box. If they're already there, you can skip the step of adding your contractor, and you could go right to that second step, which would be assigning that contractor to a project. But for training purposes, we're going to go ahead and look at what the fields are when you are adding a contractor, okay? So obviously you'll have to add in their company name, and the awarding bodies have asked that we collect the federal tax ID numbers. So that is something that is a required field, okay? So you'll see a red asterisk again where there is a required field. Of course, there are other fields that are available where you can put data. If you have it, you can add it. It's up to you. But whatever field has a red asterisk is absolutely a field that is, excuse me, required. The PWCR number field. As you can see, I'm hovering over the field that says California Public Works Contractor Registration, okay? So that is your registration ID number that you receive from the Department of Industrial Relations after you've paid your registration fee. Next, I want to talk about your contractor license or 10-digit phone number field. This field will become the user name or ID for that contractor that you're adding. If you're working with a new contractor, a new subcontractor, ask them if they are currently a user of LCPtracker. They will give you their user ID that they currently use, and you can add it here in this area. And that is, of course, if you did not see their name already listed in this drop-down box. By adding their existing user ID is actually doing them a favor, okay? If you did not put in their user ID that they already have, you will be actually giving them another one. So they would have two, which would make them have to go through a process of merging those two new user IDs together. So be cognizant, if you're hiring somebody new, just ask them if they use LCPtracker, and if they do, collect that user ID and put that information in this field. So once I added a numeric number in the first field, right below it under contractor license, that same number populated automatically. The awarding bodies would like to have the contractor license displayed on the certified payroll. So if you are using a phone number here on top, you will then need to delete that number out of that field and add the contractor license, okay? Of course, if that contractor does not have a contractor's license because they are the type of contractor that that's not required of them, then you can use their 10-digit phone number. That will suffice. I do want to make mention that when you are using the phone number, please do not add any special digits in this area. Please do not use any parentheses or dashes, okay? This field is for numbers only. Okay, numbers only. Scrolling down, you do need to choose the union status. If the business that you are adding in, your subcontractor you are putting the information in, if you know they're a Section 3 business, go ahead and check the box. That will be important for those awarding bodies that have HUD Section 3 requirements. Principal name, principal title. This is not a required field. However, this information is for the owner or the CEO of the company. Of course, the contact name, phone number, contact email address is the person who will be handling the certified payroll for this project for that company. So make sure you are putting in all of that contact person's information, okay? It is really important that this contact information be updated if there's attrition in your company, if there are changes in personnel, etc. The awarding bodies will be utilizing this information to contact the employee in charge of the certified payrolls for this company. There will be notifications that will be coming through LCPtracker that will hit the email address of the contact person. It's important also to put the address, okay, the address of the contractor. Please be careful of the spelling of the city, okay? There are probably about 10 different spellings for San Francisco in our database currently, okay? They consist of many ways of spelling, okay? The preference is, of course, to spell it out as San Francisco. Remember I talked about the City of San Francisco has local hire provisions and requirements. When the City of San Francisco is looking at any reporting and they have to choose San Francisco as the city, or San Mateo, or any other outlying area of San Francisco, they have to report on the city name. So if there are city names that are SF or San Fran, or just a misspelling of San Francisco, it makes it very difficult for them to have accurate reporting, okay, accurate percentages that they're trying to report on. So please make sure you are spelling correctly when you are collecting this information from your subcontractors. Okay, so scrolling down, lastly is the business certifications. You have the ability to self-certify, okay? So if you know that your subcontractors possibly are a small business enterprise, minority business enterprise, you absolutely have the ability to self-certify here and add your certification, okay? If you don't have one or they don't have a business certification, that's okay. You just click none and not available and simply add certification and then click save. And once you click save, the subcontractor that you've just added will receive a welcome email, welcoming them to LCPtracker, giving them a user ID, of course, that contractor license or 10-digit phone number that you added in, and a temporary password. Now remember when I said adding a subcontractor is a two-step process. So I'm just going to go back to show you what the second step is. The second step is subcontractor assignment. So that is essentially assigning that subcontractor to a project. Okay, so this is the page that will come up. You will click on Add New Assignment. A secondary box will pop up, and you will select your project. Once you select your project, you can then select the contractor to be assigned. Okay. Next is the start date. All right, you will have to put a start date. That start date is the date that that contractor that you just assigned will be starting work, okay? So boots on the ground, starting work on site. I'm just going to mention that we all know that start dates or dates in general when it comes to construction are fluid. Okay, things happen and things change. Put in the best date possible that you know of or that you are aware of. And of course, put in your contract amount for that particular subcontractor. Okay. If that particular subcontractor does not actually start work on 6/1/2018 or the date that you have chosen, okay, perhaps they start work in August, contact the awarding body to let them know that the date that you gave for that particular contractor was an estimated date and was wrong, and that you're going to give them a better date, okay? The reason why I'm making mention of this is because the start date here actually triggers one of the reports that we have for our awarding bodies. That specific report is called a late certified payroll report, okay? The awarding bodies will give you about 14 days before a payroll is considered late, okay? So 14 days after 6/1, our system will be looking for a certified payroll from this contractor. And if there is no payroll that has been certified and submitted, their name will then populate onto that late certified payroll report, which will identify, of course, contractors that have not put in a certified payroll or missing certified payrolls. And it'll give the days late according to the numeric value that was put in for the start date. Okay, so just make sure that you are all cognizant of the start date that you're putting in. After you click save, you no longer have the ability to change the start date. Okay, that is the awarding body's responsibility at that point. Only they can change the start date. That is why I'm asking you to contact your awarding body if that date is incorrect and you have a new date to give them. Now, this first page can be filtered, okay? It can be filtered by project and it can be filtered by contractor. So currently, I'm filtering by the police station renovation project. All right, so here are the contractors that are listed on the project, and it gives a little information about the date they were assigned, their contractor amount, and whether or not they are an active contractor on the project. Okay, so now that we have gone over your creating an e-signature, okay, and make sure that that's created just for those personnel that are going to be in the system, putting in documentation forms that are required, as well as certifying payroll. One more thing I do want to make mention, because we do have a little bit of time, is to add additional users. If there are other people within your organization that put in certified payroll, that perhaps add documents to the system. Perhaps you have project managers that want to run reports. You can add any user to the system from your office, All you need is their name, their email address, and their phone number to get them access. Okay? All you would do is put that information in, click Save, and it'll automatically give them a user ID, send them an email with that user ID, and a temporary password. They will then receive an email from LCPtracker welcoming them to the City and County of San Francisco database. Okay. Of course, not everybody that you add as an admin user, a contractor user, will need a user e-signature. Again, I just want to stress that the e-signature is necessary if you're certifying payroll or if you're adding e-documents. Okay, so those are those required documents that are due for the awarding bodies to review. Okay. So now that we've looked at the Setup tab and the basic parts of the Setup tab, we are going to go into the e-Documents tab. To discuss the possible documents that may be required for your awarding bodies. Okay, there are a multitude of awarding bodies within the City and County of San Francisco that have different requirements for documentation. They have different forms that they will require you to fill out and to submit. When you are in your database and you click on e-Documents, you will see a table that populates, which will give you the information about the document types that will need to be uploaded. Okay, now there, within the table, you can see the document name, whether or not that document has any specific type of requirements, and I will explain that in just a bit. If there's any expire frequencies, and if you are unfamiliar with the document name, there's always a document description typically. Of course, if there isn't and it's blank, you can always contact the awarding body contact for that project, okay? If you have a multitude of projects that you are assigned to, you can check to see, okay, let's see if this Burnell Heights roadway improvement project has different documents that are due. Looks like both projects have the same type of documents. Now, under the required column, you will see populated either an N, a Y, or an R. The N means that it doesn't have any specific requirements, okay? Therefore, the particular awarding body may want that document, but maybe for a specific type of classification and craft, okay? If it has a Y under that column, which means yes, that means it must be uploaded prior to the final certified payroll submission, okay? Prior to the final certified payroll submission. So yes, it is absolutely required for all contractors, regardless of craft and classification, but it has to be uploaded prior to the final certified payroll being submitted. Now, if you see an R under that column, that means that that document is required prior to the certified payroll being submitted. So if you try to submit your payroll and you have not uploaded that document, you will not be able to certify it. And you will receive a message that says you need to certify that particular, you need to upload that form prior to certifying your payroll. Okay, now, for example, DAS 140, okay, so that's the announcement, basically, that you were awarded a public works project. And of course, that is a per craft document. So typically, that is a document that would have an R under the required column, okay, typically. So that means that that document would be required prior to submitting any payrolls, okay? All right, to upload your document that you see that is required, you would go to the top button that's named Upload Documents. You would simply check the particular project name, okay? You would grab the particular document. We're just going to say DAS 140. The document date is the date that you are submitting this document. Of course, if there's an expiration date, let's just say it was an apprentice certificate, there would be an expiration for that. It's usually 60 days or 90 days. So you would put that date here. You are welcome to obviously put in the description of whatever it is that you are uploading. And if that document has any other requirements that's associated, like if it was for a restitution check that may have been requested by the awarding body, they will probably require you to then select an employee that the document would be related to, as well as a week ending date. You have a comment section if you need to put any comments in. Of course, you would then go to your browse and you would find a document to upload. And then you would then put in your e-signature password. So remember I said, if there are certain personnel in your office, not only will be doing this procedure, they will only be putting in documents for you, they will still need to create an e-signature for themselves. So I'm going to put in my e-signature because I just added a document. And then you would click Save. Okay. So now I have uploaded a document, and at the bottom it will tell you the file was uploaded successfully. Now, you can take a look at that document under View, Documents. Now, on this page, there's a multitude of filters. You can filter by project, by contractor, by document type, or by status. Okay. I'm just going to click on Load Data. So there's no filters involved, okay? Just so you can see what has been uploaded thus far. We have a number of headers in this blue field. Any header that has an underline, you can filter by those headers as well. So I just click the document date. So all of the 621 documents, the document dates that have 6/21/2018, all filter under that same row. Excuse me. So now you can see here, this table will give you the project name, the document types, who the contractor is that submitted the particular document, when they submitted it, because there's a date stamp, the description, if there's one there, and of course, the employee name, excuse me, is also associated. You have the ability to view the details and view the document that was uploaded. So those of you who are prime contractors who have subs, and you want to know if your particular subcontractors have submitted documentation, you can find that information here. If you are a subcontractor that has hired a sub-tiered sub, you then also have the ability to see what your subs have submitted. When you click on View Details, you'll come to a page that has just some basic information as to what was submitted. If there's an administrator notice perhaps the document in question, and we're talking right now about an apprentice cert, perhaps that apprentice cert was rejected, and the administrator, meaning the contact or the main person at the awarding body, looked at that document and rejected it because perhaps it was the wrong document. You will be able to read the notice below that gives you the explanation as to why they rejected it. Now, going back to the table, if you want to view the document, you can absolutely do that as well. You would click View, and below, depending on what type of system you're using, you will have a pop-up that asks you to open or save the document. You can absolutely open it and see what the document is. Mine is a PDF, and because I'm using multiple screens, I'll have to move this over, but this is what was uploaded. Okay, so this is what popped up. Now, obviously, this document is not an apprentice certificate, right? So therefore, you may want to contact your subcontractor to let them know, hey, this was the wrong document that you uploaded. Please try that again. And if it was yours, of course, you would just upload the correct document. Going back to e-documents, I do want to point out that the awarding bodies have the ability to provide templated documents for you, okay? And there's an area as to where you can retrieve that document for downloading, filling out. Now, give me just a moment. See if I can refresh the page. So again, the awarding body could possibly give you a templated document for your use, okay? So if you have a document that you need to review, you can absolutely click on the template button, and it will populate a list of the particular documents that are available for you to utilize, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and log back in. It looks like I got, oh no, maybe my internet is not quite working. So give me just one moment. To re-sign in. So that's e-documents. So e-documents, you can do several things, okay? You can upload your document, you can view your documents, and then of course, if there's a download document template available, you can also click on your document there. It is important, again, to note these requirements, okay? There are a multitude of requirements. Please read the document description, okay, because there may be particular documents that do not pertain to you, which have the word, or the, not necessarily the word no, but the required N within that column, okay? Okay, so now we are gonna go ahead and move forward with putting in a payroll. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use our system when it comes to adding payrolls. All right, so there's 4 ways of adding a payroll to our software. Of course, we have manual entry, which I will go over today in great detail. But there's also upload options. Okay, especially for those of you who have more than, let's say, 25 employees on a project. So I'm going to take you to the first column, the last button called Upload Records. Okay, so I discussed earlier about the different accounting systems that we partner with. So here under upload records is where you would create your uploads. So whether you have an accounting system that we partner with, this is where you would complete this process, okay, of uploading your payroll records. So we'll go to accounting systems. And here under accounting systems is a shortened list. Of course, this is a shorter list of those accounting partners that we have. Okay. Now, for instance, paycheck software. If you have paychecks, you would click here, and what would pop up are the instructions on how to utilize this payroll interface. I will make mention of this. If your pop-up blocker is on, okay, if you have pop-up blockers, many documents will not populate from LCPtracker. Okay, so just remember to turn those off. So here is the upload instructions. Okay, these are pretty simplistic. They came from paychecks that we have added to our database for your use. Now, there are some partners that we have that don't necessarily have such a simplistic way of, their interface is not so simplistic. So the instructions, let's just say, are a little more convoluted. Therefore, we have added a message to you. So for Viewpoint, if you have Viewpoint, their process is a little more challenging and difficult to do on your own. Therefore, we ask that you call Viewpoint, and Viewpoint will help you with your export. Okay. Now, if you don't see any of your accounting systems listed here, you absolutely can request for an interface to be created for maybe the particular accounting system you use. Okay. It's a simple request. You fill out this form. You upload the file, and you click send. So that form will go to our support staff, and they will handle that with you and your accounting system. So if you do not see your accounting system listed there, and that perhaps the accounting system that you have currently does not want to add themselves to the partner list, we also, LCPtracker has created a spreadsheet template, okay? So you can come here to where it says download spreadsheet template, which is right next to that help button. And the template will populate, which is an Excel document. And this Excel document will assist you with your payroll. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so what you're looking at right now is the legend of, and it's color-coded, makes it a bit easier to populate the documentation that's necessary and needed. Here, as you can see, there's color codes at the top which match that legend. You would put your information in here, okay? Again, these are for those of you who have a multitude of employees and want an easier way to put in your payroll, which would be consisting of an upload. The instructions are listed, pretty basic instructions, okay? I know some contractors will utilize their IT to assist them with this, to have their payroll records added in or interfaced onto this spreadsheet. So they do just have a very simplistic upload, okay? So you do have this option. This is, again, at no cost, all right? So there's the accounting systems that we partner with, that's at no cost, and then our download spreadsheet template, which is also free for use. Now, there's one last way to put in payroll, which is the direct payroll subscription, also known as DPI. So This is what we do offer as well. LCPtracker will offer the direct payroll subscription, which you would simply give us 4 samples, okay? Those will be CSV samples or PDF formatted samples of your payrolls, okay? And once you give us those samples, we will basically build a bridge, okay, to those payrolls to match our fields in our certified payroll area. And once that bridge is built, you then have a complete interface, okay? There are some downfalls to this particular direct payroll subscription that I just want to make mention of. If for some reason your payroll company, your payroll software company, perhaps they make a new version or put out a new version with new fields, updated fields that have changed, that have moved, and you try to put in your payroll and you do an upload. That bridge that we created with those 4 samples are now not matching, so therefore that bridge breaks, okay? So that's one example. Another example is if within those 4 samples that you gave us, perhaps no one had double time on those 4 sample payrolls. And later down the road, you have a project that you're utilizing and there is a person or multitude of employees that have double time. Well, because there was no double time shown on any of those 4 samples that you gave us on those certified payroll reports, there's no mapping, okay? There's no fields that we can map. So therefore that bridge is broken, okay? So those are just some things to think about when thinking about doing the DPI or direct payroll subscription. This subscription is at a cost. That cost is $5.95. If there is basic minor changes that need to happen, there is a cost to that as well. I believe that's $150, okay? And I do know that if there needs to be severe work done, okay, so if maybe you need to do another 4 samples of certified payrolls, I do believe that that is an additional $5.95. But I will just make mention that there are many, many contractors that use this system and are very happy with it. But again, I'm giving you the good and the bad of it, so therefore you know. So you're already prepared to, if you want to use this, you're prepared to give us samples of payrolls that will cover all of those different situations that can happen, okay? So again, this is the direct payroll subscription, and typically, you know, it's if the accounting systems that we have partner with, maybe you don't see your accounting system there. Maybe you're deathly afraid of using that Excel spreadsheet. That's fine. This is just another way of putting in your payroll using an upload, okay? So now that I've explained our uploads, I am now going to show you how to manually put in a payroll, okay? Which is also very simple. I know that I've been told it takes about 30 seconds for some people to get through a payroll, okay? I know this is a transition for most of you, and it's not going to be 30 seconds right off the bat, but just know that on average, it takes someone about 30 seconds to get through a payroll from start to finish. So I want to show you, using this manual payroll method is 3 steps, okay? Pretty easy. Payroll records is number 1. Notices is number 2, and that's, of course, if you have a notice applied to your payroll. And then that last process is number 3, and that's certifying your payroll, which is called certification, okay? So 1, 2, and 3. So under payroll records, we would go to enter records. Okay, so what you would do is you will put in your week ending date. So I am just going to put in the week ending date. I'm going to choose a project, which is going to be this police station renovation. I'm going to choose an employee. And as you can see, when I added the employee's name, there were 2 classifications that populated. And that was just because I've used this employee once or twice before on another payroll, and I had already added a craft and classification. However, perhaps it's a new employee, and let's see if I can find one, maybe not. It's a new employee, okay, that has never been on a payroll. They are not going to have a pre-populated classification and craft added already. So you will have to do that. So you just click on Add Classification. Okay. And just want to make mention up here, it says jurisdiction. Jurisdiction, it says California underneath. That's for those projects that just have the state of California prevailing wage provisions or requirements, if you will. If you're on a dual funded project, it will have 2 jurisdictions. You will see California in the drop down as well as a federal jurisdiction, okay? So if you had a dual funded project, you would have to pick a craft and classification for both jurisdictions, all right? Just keep in mind, those of you who work on those types of projects, there are 2 jurisdictions, and there are 2 classifications. Not every craft and classification has the same naming conventions, okay? So for California, they don't always have the same naming conventions for the same craft for Department of Labor. So just note that, all right? Make sure you're looking at your prevailing wage decisions. So for California, I'm just going to go ahead and choose a craft and classification. I'm going to pick the building construction inspector and field and soils material tester. Now, as you can see, there are many crafts, okay? Many crafts. So if for some reason you do not see your craft listed, okay, maybe you received a special craft and classification from the DIR for that project. Your awarding body would need to know that, number one. You would need to submit that to them, and they would obviously let LCPtracker know so we can put in that special craft and classification. That does not happen very often, but every now and again it does. So again, if you do not see your craft and classification listed, you will need to let your awarding body know so they can contact us, okay? So once you've chosen your craft, the classification under those crafts will populate, okay? So we're going to click Group 1, and just so you notice, apprentices are always at the top. All those classifications for apprentices are always in the beginning. And then the journeymen are listed below. And of course, if you have shift work, the shifts associated are also available. So once you have chosen the box for your classification, you will click Add Selected. So then you now have added, and I accidentally added 2, so let me get rid of that. So you will see that you have added that craft and class, okay? You have added that craft and class. And yes, if it's the wrong one, you can just click Select and then click Delete to get rid of it, okay? So I'm just going to go back to where my name is and add my name. So today I'm going to be a building construction inspector, Group 1. So you'll check the box because this is the one that you want to use for this payroll, and you will click Next. This is the certified payroll record that you will work in, okay? So as it says, payroll record entry form. So as you can see at the top, it has the weekend date that I chose, okay, my company name, the project name, who I am a sub to, and then your employee name. All right, now if Monique Cox is a foreman, you can identify that in this box, okay? And that will just be populated onto the certified payroll report, okay? Now, gross employee pay this project, usually no fringes. So the gross employee pay, okay, we'll circle back and add that in afterwards, okay? But basically, that's the basic hourly rate of pay times the hours, right? We also have a wages paid in lieu of fringes, so that's the total cash fringe. Now, this is an important box here. These fields are hourly rate fields, usually no fringes. So the base hourly rate will be added here. So this is how much you pay your employee, okay? This is the base rate that you pay your employee. Do not put the total rate here, okay? Do not put the total rate here, only the base rate. And of course, if this employee was going to be working any overtime, you would put the overtime here, so that's the base times 1.5, and then the double time hourly, of course, that's the base times 2, all right? Now, rate in lieu of fringes. That is for any open shops or non-union contractors that pay their fringes in cash to their employees, okay? They don't pay the fringe to a third party. That's where they would put that amount in this area, okay? Below is where your classification has populated for your employee. Now, if you get to this page and you notice that you didn't choose the correct craft and classification, you are not married to that classification. You can edit it at this point. You would just click the edit button in the last column, and you can change your craft if that's what you need to do, or if you just need to change the classification, you can change that here. Moving down, you'll see hours worked each day for this project only. So we have a table of dates, okay? So that's for the week of week ending date 3/30, okay? So this employee is only going to work straight time Monday through Friday, and I'm just going to put 8 all the way across. If you notice, under total hours, for regular time, automatically added up to 40. It will do the same thing if there was amounts under the overtime as well, okay? It'll also tabulate, all right? Now, as you can see, Tuesday, 3/27/2018, I have straight time 8, and then I have overtime at 8, and then at the bottom, it totaled to 16 hours for that day. So there is a total for each day as well. Okay, so moving down, fringes contributions paid to others. Okay, so again, it says here, not employee, for this project only. And there's, in the parentheses, there's even more instructions. This is the rate times the number of hours worked. So if you didn't use the time saver that I talked about in the employee profile area, you can absolutely add in the amount manually here, okay? So again, if it's $12, it's $12 times the number of hours worked. But because I use the time saver, I'm going to click on the calculate fringes, which will automatically populate and calculate the fringes for me. So as you can see, those fringes populated into the appropriate areas. Okay. Now, obviously, if I had put in an amount that my employee had a voluntary contribution for medical or pension, that would have populated as well. Okay. And anyone who is a non-union or has non-union employees or employees who receive a cash fringe, obviously your fringes will be up at the top, okay? And automatically you will see this check mark be applied to the sum or all fringes paid to employee box, okay? You will see that automatically populate, okay? If you have vacation, holiday, dues included in your gross pay, all right, included in your gross pay up here, you will need to check the box so the calculations will calculate correctly. And again, as I stated, for the employee profile area, if there is a voluntary contribution that your employee elects to take for medical or pension, and you used that time saver box, there was a box that said voluntary contributions included, that check mark would automatically populate once you clicked on the calculate fringes as well. Okay. So moving down to paycheck, I'm just going to close these so we can see a little bit better on this page. Paycheck deductions, payments, and notes. In parentheses, it says, for all projects worked this week, you have the ability to create a single paycheck or a multiple paycheck. I'll get into that in just a bit. So under this, single paycheck is listed as deductions. So there will be some deductions that need to be populated in, and I will add those up really quick. Okay, so other. So we talked about that when we were looking at the employee profile page. Again, if you put an amount in the other tabulation field, you will have to also add deduction notes. So I'm going to put $100. Okay. What you should not do is put maybe something like that in the other deduction notes section, okay? Another thing that I know happens as well is NA, okay? That's not okay either. This is something else that I have also seen be typed into the notes section, okay? Those are all probably statements or things that will kind of put up a red flag for your awarding bodies, okay? So if you have other deductions, put in what that other deduction is specifically. You don't necessarily need to put an amount in. However, you can just put in what it is. Child support, garnishment, like I said, tax liens, anything to that effect. Now, you do have an area for vacation and dues as well as savings. And as you know, if you notice, the total deductions added up automatically for you. Now, under payments, okay, under payments, and of course it says if included in your paycheck. There's an area where you can put travel and subsistence. Please note that if you put something there, you need to also tabulate that into your gross pay and your net pay, okay? So your net pay, you need to have that in there. Gross pay all projects. All right, you'll need to put in a paycheck amount and the check number. So if you don't have check numbers, okay, anymore, maybe you have direct deposit, you can type in direct deposit, or you can just use DD, okay? You will also need to put in a payment date, okay? You will need to add in a payment date. As you can see, there are red asterisks that are listed, okay? So that means those are required fields. If you have anything that you need to let your awarding body know about this particular employee for this week ending date, you can add any notes that you need to. If for some reason there was a multiple paycheck that needed to be added, you can choose multiple paychecks, and you have the ability now to add a paycheck. Okay, so this is the second paycheck amount here. All right, so you can add in whatever it is that you need to add in. Remember that you need a check number and you need a payment date. Okay, paycheck reasons. It could be just an adjustment. Maybe you need to add restitution. And regular, so let's just say you pay travel and subsistence on a separate check. That is not unusual. If you do that, you can just use regular as your paycheck reason, okay? Obviously, you might want to put some notes in just so you are articulating why there's a second paycheck, okay? You would click save and then would add the additional paycheck. So now that we have completed that process, we're all done, okay? We added in the base rate, we added in the craft and class, we put in our hours, we put in our fringes, and we have our paycheck information, so you now can click save. Now, once you click save, you will get a payroll record save box. Unfortunately, we have a notice, okay? But if you didn't have a notice, that's okay. It would give you a question, okay? You'll always get this question, enter another record for a different employee. In a real situation, we would obviously put yes, more than likely. But for today, we're going to put no. And it just takes you back to your regular screen, your landing page, if you will. And we're going to go to number 2, notices, because we want to see what was the notice that we got. Okay, so you will find on this page contractor notices. So this first tab is called payroll notices, meaning there was a trigger of one of the many 70 plus validation settings that were applied. Okay, so there are over 70 validations that look at your payrolls in our system. Okay, many of them are field check, logical checks, so whether or not there's something missing in a field. There are math error checks. Okay, so if there's math errors, there's checks for whether or not you are meeting the prevailing wage for the particular craft and classification, overtime, double time, training contribution, if that amount was entered or entered correctly or incorrectly. There's a lot of different types of checks that we have on the back end. And if they are triggered, or one of them is triggered, or multiple are triggered, you will receive a payroll notice, okay? Administrator notices, all right? These happen to be notices from the administrator about either your payroll or about your e-document, okay? So we're going to go to payroll notices because we want to complete this payroll. So you'll find your employee name, the week ending, and we'll click edit. As you can see, there's a multitude of payrolls here, okay, that have notices. So we're just going to look at the one we are doing right now. So you'll come back to that payroll record and you just scroll down and you can see that my notice says this record is either missing a value for gross pay or hours worked. Gross pay this project cannot be 0. All right, so there's a little video assistance here, okay? We can play the video if we'd like to. All it is about a minute and 30 seconds. It's one of our support staff. They are going over the particular notice that has come up and showing you how to clear that particular notice. Now, my gross employees pay this project is at 0. Remember earlier I said I would circle back, and I did not. I did that on purpose so we would receive a notice, okay? So now that I put that amount in, I can click Save, and now I have a little message here that says there are no notices, which is great, okay? That means I'm done. I've completed my payroll record for this person. So now I can go to number 3, which is called certification. So you'll pick your project, and it's telling me that the last certified payroll that I put in was dated for week ending 3/23/2018, and it was payroll number 4. So it's just a friendly reminder of this is what you last put in for this project. Work performed this week. So the first bullet is about work activity that's going to be reported for this week. So that's what we're going to do today. However, let's say you have a payroll, a non-performing payroll that you need to put in, and it's just for this week. You would choose the second bullet. Perhaps you know that you are not going to be on site for the next 3 or 4 consecutive weeks. You can put in non-work activity for those multiple weeks. Of course, they have to be consecutive non-performing weeks to enter. All you would do is you would, under the first week ending date box, you would put the week, the very first week that you're not performing work, and that very last week, okay? Put in the very first payroll number for the first week that there will be no work activity. And of course, once you click next and save all that information, those payroll numbers will increase sequentially for each week, starting with the one payroll number that you added in this field. But because we have a payroll, okay, we have a performing payroll, we're just going to put in our week ending date, which is 3/30/2018. We're going to put the payroll number in. And you will put in your title, okay? Click next. And what will populate next is the statement of compliance, okay? So once your statement of compliance comes up, you'll need to answer for A and for B. You'll click the appropriate box. So A is where the fringe benefits paid to an approved plan or program, or B, where the fringe benefits paid in cash. And if you have a multitude of types on your certified payroll, obviously you would click both. Of course, if there was some exceptions and explanations that needed to be added in, you could do so. We have room for that. And any remarks that maybe you want to add in, any notes, you can do so as well. You would then put in your e-signature. Okay, you would add in your e-signature. And if this was the final payroll, I would then check the box, okay? Of course, this is not the only place that you can finalize the payroll, okay, just in case you forget. So I'm just going to click Save now that I put in my e-signature password, and I, number 1, got a confirmation here that says my payroll was created successfully, and if you do not have your pop-up blockers on, you will then see your payroll populated on the page. So here's our payroll that we did today. All right. And here's the statement of compliance with our checkbox marked, my name, title, and here is my electronic signature. Again, I said it was a numeric signature that is unique to you and you only, and is even unique to the particular payroll that you enter, okay? Anytime you certify a payroll, there will be a slight change in the numbers, okay? And the last page, if there are deduction notes, you will also see those deduction notes populate. Okay, so now that we're done with that, we'll just click OK, and it'll bring us to this Edit Certified Payroll page. Now, brings us back here. Now, when you're here, you can make some decisions, okay, some last-minute decisions. Perhaps you added the wrong payroll number. Well, you can change that here. Perhaps you forgot to finalize the payroll. Well, you can finalize it here as well, and you would just click Update. Okay, those two items, you would just click Update, and those would be updated immediately. Now below, you'll see Certified Records, because here is the one employee record that we put on the certified payroll. If you needed to add another employee, so add another record, you would just click Add Record, which will bring you back to that payroll record entry page. As you can see, the week ending date is already here, as well as the project. All you need to do is find your employee and add their classification. Now, if that's not what you wanted to do, and you thought about the information that you put in for the particular employee's record, and you need to edit it, you would just click Edit here, and it'll take you right back to that certified payroll page that you were just working in, and you can make whatever additional changes that you may have needed to do. Okay, so let's just say that the garnishment was actually $200 and not $100. So you just click Save. Okay. Excuse me. Make sure that's right. Okay, so yeah, just wanted to make sure I click Save. So you would click Save. And I want to make sure you also take note of one other item, is you would have to make sure that you are, there we go, trying to get to the project, sorry. My mouse is being funny. So we're going to go to the police station because I want you to see here on this project tab, and on the sub-tab Certified Payrolls under the police station, so that was the project that I was just in, it says here that I have, for 330, performing payroll that was submitted, I need to do something. It says you have temporary records to certify. And that was just because I made that one change, okay? I made that one change about the $200 I changed for their garnishment. So I will then have to recertify that payroll, okay? Anytime you go in and you make a change within the payroll, whether you're adding a record or you're editing the employee record, you have to make sure that you are recertifying that payroll. So it just says Certify Update. You just click that. You make the necessary changes. I'm going to put in my password, and it's going to make me do something in just a bit when I click save. Now I see I tried to click save and it wouldn't allow me to because it says remarks are required for a recertification. So anytime you try to recertify the payroll, you have to put in some remark about what you did, okay? So I'm just putting changed garnishment amount. Now I can click save. Now, let me put that in. Well, let's see here. Okay, there we go. Click OK. That the CPR has been created successfully. So now you'll come back to that edited certified payroll page, and you will see that I have a superseded payroll, okay? So I have a superseded payroll now. So here's the one that I certified. That's the one with the change. So there's always that history. The history will always be there. So I'm going to go back to that project tab under certified payroll sub-tab so I can explain some things here. You will see all your payrolls that are certified. If you need to edit a payroll, this is where you would do that, okay? You can see the week ending dates in the table. You can see if it was a performing or a non-performing payroll. You can see the accepted status, okay? Once you submit a payroll, it will say submitted. If you edit a payroll, okay, if you edit by adding another person, another employee, or you're editing a record, it will say resubmitted, okay? You likely will not see permission to edit, as you all have been given, I guess if you want to say carte blanche to edit your payrolls. There is no payroll time restrictions, okay? There is no restrictions on your editing abilities on your payrolls. So if the payroll was rejected by the awarding body, you will see in red rejected, okay? And updated means you updated your payroll. What defines updated is you changed the payroll number, or you changed the payroll to final, or changed it to not be final, okay? If you need to edit the payroll, remember I clicked on that edit button earlier, okay? If you want to review your payroll report, this is how you would review your payroll report, just to look at it, okay? In the PDF form, this is how it will populate. DIR XML, okay? This button will give you the DIR XML formatted payroll, okay? So I have populated it here down at the bottom. I would click save it to my desktop or to my files, and then you would then go to the ECPR webpage on the DIR's website, and you would upload it to their webpage, okay? Details is just simply details on the payroll itself. It will give you the process status, any other statuses, who submitted the payroll, again, whether it was performing or non-performing, your payroll number, any notes that were added, and of course, the payrolls itself, okay? The PDF documented payrolls itself. All right, so now that we have gone over the payroll, how to put in a payroll, how to upload a payroll using any of our payroll options, how to edit a payroll, how to upload a DIR XML payroll as well. I'm just going to go over a couple of other things within the payroll tab. I just want to quickly show you that we do have the, we give you the ability to copy a previous payroll. Just be careful when you're copying payrolls. Make sure that you are making changes to some of those specific items, okay, that need to be changed. Uncertified payrolls, okay. There's also uncertified payrolls that you have the ability to look at and edit, okay. Perhaps you put in some payrolls and you didn't complete them. This is where those would be. They would be under the uncertified payroll area, okay. Now I want to go to reports, and I want to talk about a couple of different reports that will probably help you out. First and foremost is the contractor assignment report. This is a pretty good report, which will give you basically your contractor tree, if you will. Okay, it'll give you your contractor tree. It will tell you all the contractors who are listed on that particular project. One more is a certified payroll report. Okay. These are the parameters that you can choose. If you're a prime and you've hired subcontractors, you probably want to see what they're doing. Okay. You probably want to see what kind of payrolls they have as you are responsible. For what they are putting in. So I'm looking at the police station renovation project, the contractor, Caden Plumber's Best. Here are their week-ending payrolls that they have submitted. Okay, it will tell you whether they are performing or non-performing. They'll tell you what status they are in. Okay, whether or not they've been rejected. If there was a superseded payroll, and you can actually click on the CPR report to look at it, okay? Again, if you are a sub-tiered contractor who has hired another sub-tiered subcontractor, you too can look at your subs that you have hired. The last one I want to take a look at and show you is the certified payroll report draft. Okay, certified payroll report draft. You select your project, select the particular week ending date, and you'll be able to review the payroll and draft form. I have been told that this is a really good tool for those who have possibly new payroll processors working on projects. They're putting in a payroll. You don't allow them to certify it until it's been reviewed by the payroll supervisor or manager, and they do a manual review as such. Okay, it looks pretty much like a regular certified payroll, except for there's draft at the top. Okay, you see the word draft at the top in red. All right. This is also another good way to just have one more cursory review of the payroll to make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed before you submit your payroll. Okay. So I just want to also make mention that there are a multitude of different types of payrolls that you, of other documents that you can review in our payroll system. Okay, there's a multitude of different documents that you can print out. If there is a report that you need that for some reason you are not seeing, you can contact your awarding body, and perhaps they have access to that particular type of report, okay? And they can print it out for you. All right, so I have gone over the training materials, okay, which is a really good area for those basically self-help PDF documents for your use. There's videos there, and there's a contractor manual that you can upload, download onto your desktop. Our support, we have dedicated support staff in our Orange County office that are happy to help you out. We have live chat when you're in your database, and let's say you're challenged and you need an answer quickly, you can click on live chat to talk to one of our staff. And we've gone over pretty much all of the tabs. Again, to put in a manual payroll, it's 3 steps, 1, 2, and 3. All right. If you just have a non-performing payroll, you just go to number 3, and you would choose one of the 2 last buttons. Okay. We've gone over reports. We've gone over e-documents, which are those documents you'll need to upload for your awarding bodies to review those forms. And of course, we've gone over some items in the setup tab, which is adding your employees, adding in an e-signature, adding in any additional users for your company. Of course, there are some other items here that you can review on your own in the training materials that are really good, like fringe benefit maintenance is a really good feature we have, as well as copying employees feature. But I don't want to take any more time up, just because I know that some may have some questions for me. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on